So my own journey started in France. I grew up in Bordeaux, in a city in the southwest of France. I studied politics, political science. I was quite interested in that. And then I went to Paris to further my education in communications, corporate communications. And I had a first job at a small company in Paris, a computer company, led by people of Vietnamese origin. That's where the link started. So these people were Viet Qs, you know, and they were leading this this company, a computer company, and doing most of their business with China. So we were serving mostly Chinese customers. And I got really interested in Asia, in this international, you know, aspect of customer relationship. It was really interesting for me. And I thought, I don't want to stay in corporate communications. I would rather do international business. I think that's really fascinating. And so I tried to find ways to find a job in China, and it didn't really work because they were looking for people speaking Chinese. I did not speak Chinese at that time. And so, but eventually I heard about an opportunity in Vietnam. It was at a bank. And so I managed to go there for the first time in my life. I think it was in 92 or something. And I remember, as if it was yesterday, this feeling when the door, the plane of the door of the plane opens and this air, this hot, warm, humid air comes in the plane. It was in Ho Chi Minh City, 92. I remember falling in love instantly with the country and feeling, oh my God, I'm feeling home here. I really want to stay here. I really want to explore. And so the job opportunity did not work out. It did not materialize, but I was so hooked. I was so fired up, wanted to really stay there, that I managed to find a way to actually stay in Vietnam. I stayed at a family who was living in Ho Chi Minh City, in the center of the city. 13 people living in the same house, 3 generations. Only the grandfather spoke French. Everybody else spoke just Vietnamese. One person spoke a little bit of English. And so they offered to host me, and which I, of course, gladly accepted. So I stayed 6 months there. I started to learn the Vietnamese language, I think, the next day of my arrival, in order to be able to communicate with people. And I looked for a job, and it took me a few months, precisely 4 months. I went, to every company that had an office in Ho Chi Minh City and tried to. I had very little to offer. I was young. I had very little experience. I did not speak the language yet. But I had energy and I had passion, and I really wanted to do something here. And eventually it worked out, and a French company offered me to to work in their new office in Hanoi. So I had to say goodbye to Ho Chi Minh City, which was a sad moment. But I thought, I've already traveled so far. I could still travel a little bit more. It's fine. It's going to be fine. And then I spent the rest of my 4 years in Vietnam. I spent them in Hanoi, leading a small office for a trading company. So we were helping, foreign companies to do business in Vietnam in various fields. So I got more and more involved in the business side of things, and I really enjoyed it. And for example, helping a young Vietnamese entrepreneur who was just starting his company, helping him find foreign clients, etc. And this company is now super big, so I'm really happy about this, having contributed just a tiny little bit to the economic development of Vietnam. I made fabulous friends, and I'm speaking of that with passion, and not just because you are Vietnamese, but because it has been a foundational moment for me, and it has decided a lot of things that came after in my career. Why is that so? because I discovered the wonderful, the amazing joy of connecting, of being able to connect across our diversity. Although, we had very different backgrounds, very different education, very different language, different ways of thinking, even. Well, despite all that, I was able to establish, to connect very deeply with Vietnamese, with some of my Vietnamese friends, and to really, having a human-to-human dialogue and connection and friendship. And that made me reflect on the power of cross-cultural connection, diversity, openness to what we don't understand. And all those things have become important drivers for me. So every experience after, I wanted to find again this pleasure of talking with people who are very different from me, and finding ways to meet. So I stayed 4 years, and then I felt I wanted to continue my exploration. So I found one of my clients offered a job as sales representative for Asia, based in Paris, but traveling over Asia quite extensively: Malaysia, Indonesia, Taiwan, Thailand, Singapore. And I was really attracted by I mean, this job was super interesting. So I took it for 2 years. And then I was not done with Asia. I still wanted to continue exploring, but I wanted to be again located somewhere. And the company had another position opened, which I took in Beijing, China. So I went to Beijing, that was in 1999, and I became the head of the radio business of that company. So we had music radio, in China, with quite a big Chinese staff and a foreign staff as well. And we had radio stations in Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. And so I started learning the language as well, which is more difficult. It's easier because there are less accents, less tones, but it's more difficult because of the writing, of course. I don't know, my relationship with China is not as emotional as the one I experienced in Vietnam. I love China still. It was really superb, and it was a time of profound changes, social changes. It was really interesting. But then the company decided that they would not stay in China. The media field, the media sector was quite difficult for foreign companies. And so I left Asia at the time, and then returned to Europe, and then landed a job at Sanofi. And Sanofi, the pharma company, I was I joined the vaccine division of this pharma company. And they were interested in this international experience I had accumulated, and they offered me a job in HR, in the human resource department. And there, my first assignment was over Latin America and Africa. So very different cultural, settings, but super interesting as well. So I had to start learning Spanish, for example, and every time I start learning a new language, it's a new door or a new window, that is opening up on the world, and it's fabulous. It's extraordinary. So I stayed just a very little time in HR, and then moved back to commercial operations. Overall, I stayed. Oh, and at some point, I managed a big project over Japan. So I had to go to Japan very often as well. So that was really super interesting. So I stayed eventually 17 years at Sanofi. The last 4 years of that time were spent in the US, because I created a position to lead a big project, and that position was based in Boston, Massachusetts. So I went there with my family. My kids were 5 and 9 at that time. It was really super nice, very interesting as another cultural experience. And we left Boston in 2018, returned to France, and we have been in France ever since. I have left Sanofi and created my own consulting firm. So now it's been 4 years. Really happy about that. I will tell you. I think you will want to know about what I'm doing precisely, so
Yes.
I'll say it. But just before I go there, the latest project that has kept me busy is writing a book. So this book is coming up soon, and I speak in it about this experience, this journey, across the world, across cultures and businesses, and what shaped my understanding of good business and good organizations.
Wonderful. We will get to that one because I'm so excited about that, Celine. I want to bring you all the way back into 1992 when you first came to Vietnam, right? And then earlier today you said that the country was under embargo by the US back then. So basically the infrastructure is not there yet. Everything is not yet available, right? Compared to what we are having now. So out of the many countries you can choose to go and explore and build up your international experience, you know, what kept you to come to the country that has nothing to do, Vietnam?
I know it was an interesting choice. Well, at that time, I felt that I had a very comfortable life until then. A very comfortable life. Loving parents, good education. Enough comfort to live a good life. But then I felt, what am I worth really? Am I just privileged, or am I able of? Can I show courage? For example, I had never had the experience, the opportunity to display any courage. Everything had come to me so easily, So I felt it would be worthwhile to go to a place where things were not that easy and see how I coped and see what would happen. So, for example, I decided not to explore Hong Kong, for example. Hong Kong was it was very dynamic at that time. It was great. There was a great life, but it was too easy. It was almost, like the West. And so I felt, I want to go someplace where things are less easy, yet not too difficult for a woman, because I was a young woman. And so, some countries are not that great. So, for example, I also did not consider Japan, which is, difficult for women in the workplace. So there was a choice. Plus, I was extremely interested in, culturally speaking, by Asia. So I did not consider Latin America, for example. I had read, so many authors. I was a big reader, an avid reader. What was this author? Kim Van Kyu. And I read all those famous Asian authors. So I was really intrigued and appealed by the culture, and that's how. And then I landed in this family, which was an amazing experience, also an amazing cultural bonding experience. So I discovered the food. So fabulous. Oh, my auntie cooked it was a coconut pork. It was so beautiful. It was so amazing. So no, everything I enjoyed about Vietnam, and the sceneries and the landscape, even the music. It was great. It was lovely. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Celine, yeah, I just would love to learn from you because I think right now with the globalization, people had to move a lot, but it seemed like to be just a project, just a task to do it. How did you find a love to travel? And of course, during your staying, there's some feeling of belonging, but definitely you're gonna miss your home. Like, how did you get over that and the energy? Yeah.
You know, all the more that at that time there was obviously no internet and no mobile phones, and when you were, you know, away, you were really away, really cut off from your family. But that was part of the experience, and it made me connect in a way more deeply with my family, because we exchanged letters. There was no other way to keep in touch, you know. So we wrote letters on paper, and it took quite some time to reach me, and vice versa. And so we wrote to each other. So, you know, it takes time to reflect on a paper. It's not like sending a WhatsApp. You know, it's not instant emotion. And I missed some of the big milestones in my family life. For example, I remember my dad turned 50, and I was not here. I was in Vietnam, and they organized a big party at home, and it made me reflect on what I felt for my dad. And so I wrote him a long letter, 6 pages, to reach him on his birthday. And in this letter, for the first time, I said to my dad that I loved him, and that he was important for me, and that, you know, there were things that made me want to, but other things that just made me want to hug him. And these are the kind of things I never said to him before. You know, I kind of took him for granted, him and my mom, you know, as long as they were here. You know, it was just part of a normal life. But now that I was away, far away, it made me reflect and appreciate the people more, and not just as my mom and dad, but as people, as individuals, as great people. And so the next time I returned home a few months later, we hugged each other so deeply, so strongly, and we said to each other that we loved each other. I said to my dad for the first time, "I love you," and he said, "I love you too." It was so beautiful. It was, you know, going away that made me actually come closer. You see?
Yeah, in Vietnam we has the sentence that we go out so that we can return back in the deeper sense of us. Yes, but Celine, I want to bring you all the way back further onto your childhood also, because when I look at your history, you know, it's always in exploration stage when you try to explore a new thing. So when you were a kid, was that something that, and you know, hidden inside of you, that you're trying to explore more and more into the world, in your own world, though?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. I think it comes from this family education. Both my parents were artists. Both of them, they were art teachers, and also very fond of exploration and creativity and openness, and always trying to be on the lookout for beauty, for connection, for those kind of things. So I think they gave me this taste. It's not that I'm trying to find something, it's the journey itself, which is fabulous.
Yes.
It's this journey of, you know, being a little bit in unsettling yourself, you know, so that, because life is short. Life is very short. It goes too fast. And if you, it's an amazing gift that we have. And we have that once, I believe. So we have to. I believe that's my philosophy. Make the most of this life that is being given to us. So make the most of it. Not waste our time, our precious time on earth. You know, just I don't know. Watching TV or doing, you know, stuff that do not. There are great programs sometimes, but rather than the state of passivity of, you know, things come to us and we, you know, I really appreciate the state of active growth, active, you know, development. being there, being fully present, being fully present as humans on this planet. You know, that's what I'm trying to pursue as well in the workplace.
Celine, you've been leading your life, daring to do a lot of things, right? And when you tell us earlier of your journey, I feel so overwhelming with a lot of learnings. Okay, in every country that you come, you're learning the language. And to we started first, and then learning the cultures, and then try to build the relationships. Then try to advance your career also from everywhere that you go in by embedding yourself to that culture first. But then learning is not easy. There's a lot of people really afraid of learning, and
It's
your
true.
life demonstrated a lot of learnings in there.
It's true.
What was the secret that helped you be able to like continue that learning journey though?
Yeah. You know, honestly, I think I've been very lucky. And I have to be really honest about the privilege that I enjoy. And so recognizing my privilege, you know, I'm in good health, for example, and many people are not in good health, and they cannot enjoy the same kind of life. You know, I have my two parents. They're alive. They are loving each other. Other people grow in broken families, and they don't have this, you know, solid ground that I enjoy. You know? But on the other hand, some people develop amazing capabilities despite, you know, very harsh conditions. So I try to remain very humble and modest. Yes, my journey is pleasant and may feel inspiring to some other people. To me, it's just a small journey. Nothing really exceptional about it. You know, honestly, some people have to fight much harder, much harder than I've ever had to fight. And their journey may be less spectacular because they don't write a book or they don't, you know, show up in podcasts, and yet there's so much more to learn from them than there is from me.
But Celine, teach us the secret that keeping you staying humble for these long years. Because I think that, to me, I think I saw a lot of rising stars, and then when they're at the peaks, and sometimes they forgot how everything started. So we don't want. I think we in the audience here don't want to one day forgot this message. So I think it's very powerful for to learn. You know, if you can share with us.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Maybe because I've met amazing people throughout my life who were just normal people, just regular people, but with a big heart, with huge sensitivity, with, you know, artistic skills or whatever. I've met amazing people who are, in a way, nobodies, and yet that's why I find the value of people is not attached to their number of followers or their, you know, influence. And I believe that we have this toxic tendency to focus on exceptional people, and I think it does a lot of harm to our societies and to our organizations. And so I'm trying hard not to fall into the trap myself.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm trying to constantly remind me, and my husband likes to criticize me, for example, which is good. You know, it helps me stay. You know, when I'm super proud of what I do, he says, you know, yeah, could have done better, or why don't you pick up the trash and help me clean the kitchen? You know, and I said, yeah, okay, that's good. You know, let's remain. It's not that we cannot shine and rise, but I find it more sustainable and more authentic and helpful if we rise and shine together.
Yeah.
Not if there's one, you know, rising and shining more than everybody else. I think this is extremely toxic. I'm trying not to play that game.
And lucky you that not only you being able to create a system that remind you to be, to be humble, but at the same time, besides you is your husband who always, keep the journey together as
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
big reminder also, right? So that's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And when you have kids, and they are teenagers, they love to criticize you, for everything. So it's also a good way to stay grounded.
Celine, I would want to bring you to a very critical point in your life also is the time that you left Sanofi. All right. I think that normally when we in the corporate world, life is stable. We had a lot of opportunities to travel and make an impact within the umbrella of no organizations and what allow us to do, right? But then you decided to leave and having another adventure, which is having your own consulting
Yeah,
firm.
yeah.
What made you do
So
that?
yeah, many things decided me to leave. Um, some of them are linked to, how can I say, the feeling that after 17 years, it would be a great a great time to start challenging myself again and
Mm.
learning new things again, because I was 48. I'm 51 now, 51, 52 this year soon. And I felt, I still have at least 10, 15 years, of active professional life ahead of me. I don't want to just, to have the end of my time, flat here. And plus, I started to become less and less tolerant to stupid managerialism. Some things you can accept when you're young and you don't know. And so, as you grow in maturity, you feel, do I really want to report to people who I think are not extremely clever, who who maintain a very old-fashioned kind of management in place, top down, controlling. I was a bit tired, although I had done really amazing things with fabulous people, really fabulous people in the volunteering, in the volunteer movements, etc. These community engagement things I developed at Sanofi. But there was also sometimes I felt, is it really worthwhile fighting against some of those bureaucrats and old-fashioned managers, or should I just continue, grow, and bring my knowledge to more people? So that's what I decided eventually, and it was a great time. I remember one day my husband left for the day, and I was at home, and I reflected on, it was the 5th of April,
A few people, okay.
2018. 5th of April 2018. He came back in the evening, and I said, darling, we've got to open a bottle of champagne. I took a big decision, and we got to celebrate that. He said, what's your decision? I said, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. And he was so surprised because I had never talked about that in my whole life. I'd never considered that possibility. I always felt I would not be, comfortable with the uncertainty enough to be an entrepreneur. I was used to having a paycheck at the end of each month, and I felt it was important for my security and my family's security as well. But then at some point I thought, no, what else? What do I have to lose, really? If this doesn't work, I can still find a job elsewhere, and So I let go of my fear and celebrated with a nice glass of champagne.
What is his name?
My husband's name is Leo.
Liu. How do I say it?
Yes.
Hi.
Look.
Hey, say hello to your whole family, to your daughter and your son too. So Leo, how do I spell his name?
Leo.
Ah, okay, Leo. Okay, can you know, What did he say when he opened that champagne and celebrating with
He
you? What did he
said,
say?
I always knew you would
Wow.
do it. He said, I always knew you would do it.
Wow.
And I thought, why did you see something that I didn't see for 20 years? He said, you should have done it before. I said, well, yeah, but I was not ready.
Wow.
Now is the time. Now is the time I'm ready.
4 days later.
A decision has to come from you. It's also the same in the workplace. When people are being told, it doesn't work as well as when they want it, as when it comes from them. So my work is about how to trigger this desire, this inner desire to step forward and act together in the service of a common goal. And it's difficult how to trigger this want to. It's easier to align people and say, now you got to do this, now you got to do that, and let's follow the rules, and but how do you trigger desire and this feeling of I want to?
Yeah, Celine, you were saying that you worry about uncertainty, but throughout your journal, it's all about uncertainty.
Yeah.
And it's like you are the one who managing the best for uncertainties. Yeah. So I think it's opportunities come in the adversity.
Yes.
Right? I think it's a time when you feel like enough is enough and stuff like that. Do you think the catalyst needed to be there to really kick off that desire? Or one day you just wake up and feel like, yeah, I'll do that. How would you advise to the young women, maybe like also thinking about the uncertainties and maybe they have some desire, but the adversity is not there yet. The catalyst is not there yet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I have always been a planner. So I love to plan. I love to organize things. So on the one hand, I love to jump into the unknown, but it's never like a crazy move. It's always, what will I love to be in action. So doing things. It's not just a dream and then poof, let's go unprepared. No, I educate myself. I learn, for example, the language. I try to find connections, a place to stay. You see, I try to remain grounded and have a realistic approach to my capabilities, to what I can do, what I'm capable of, or whose help do I need. I find that it's extremely important especially for young women, but to ensure their financial independence, to ensure that they do not, depend on other people, because this gives you power. If you are independent financially, maybe either by having whatever income source, or also reducing your lifestyle or whatever management suits your needs, but making sure that you protect your a safe base for you, and then from there you go, you explore, you invest, but you have this feeling that your life is in your hands and not in the hands of somebody else, a manager, a partner, etc. I think it's really important. This, for me, it was a source of the first. Of course, the first source of safety is the feeling of being loved by my family, my parents, my sisters, etc. But then it's also this independence, financial independence, which is really important for me.
I think not just the financial independent, but I think it's a lifestyle independence that you
Yes, you're
have
right.
also. Yeah, so I noted down here that what you say. What do I have to lose, right? If you start the business, if you're not success, at least you try, and you can always come back to do something. Come back to corporate work,
Exactly.
and that gave you the courage to do that. So which leads me to the next one that you do that really intrigued us is the book, the journey of 2 years that you're writing. Why did you choose to write a book?
Yes, thank you for the question. So, I have accumulated throughout this professional journey a lot of experience, of course, but also a clearer and clearer belief that the way organizations are run today is actually not helpful. It's not helpful for them, for the business, and it's not helpful for the people working in these organizations and for the customers they are serving. I believe that the old ways of running organizations, of running businesses, are coming to an end. But many people do not know what comes next. How do we invent new practices? What can we do? How can we work differently? And I have tried myself several experiments, large-scale experiments, that have been extremely successful, in which I have applied and developed ideas, or I have learned about ideas from important thinkers, thought leaders, etc. And I have sort of made a blend of different things. For example, the Kotter approach developed by Professor John Kotter in the US, the systems site approach developed by another professor called Barry Oshry, the living organizations approach developed by another important thinker named Myron Rogers, the use of social networks, etc. So I've done a number of experiments that at some point I felt, either at Sanofi and later on as a consultant, I felt at some point I need to bring that together and identify why it works. Why? So my practice, I started from the practice, from doing the work, and then I felt like understanding, researching more, etc. So it doesn't come from the academic perspective, but really from the field, and at some point I felt, I want to understand clearer for myself first. Why engagement, why community mobilization, why new leadership, that kind of things work. So I researched and went into quite deep into philosophy, sociology, politics, etc., and put together this sort of tapestry of a long professional journey into leadership development. The future of leadership, I think, is already here, and there are ways to make it happen right now in organizations. So that's the book. That's what the book is about. It took me about 2 years, including 1 year of intense dedication. I wrote every evening until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., every weekend, half of my days for 1 year.
So you are the evening person.
Yes, I'm an evening person. Yeah, definitely. Not a morning one at all.
But Celine, I also believe that these are eras for new leaderships because a lot of old things already died and needs to be relearned and rebuilt again. So can you share some secret from the book? If we want to, if organizations would want to rebuild the culture, that be helpful for the people, for the customers, for the business, and for the society,
Yes.
what is that the secret sauce that can help turn it around?
So there are a number of ideas because the book is quite thick. It's 300 pages, so it's a long book. But one of the key ideas is that leadership is not an individual skill set, as we often believe it is. We say, this person displays leadership and that person does not display leadership. Okay, that's what we believe. I think this is wrong, and this has stopped serving us. Instead, what I believe is that leadership is a collective capacity. It's a collective capacity. You cannot have one leader and many unleaders or non-leaders. It's not possible. A leader is someone who develops collective capacity and who develops, therefore, many other leaders around him or her, with whom he or she works in close collaboration. So it's not people, it's not a leader and followers. No. I think that's wrong. That's a wrong metaphor. It's really a collective. How do we form a collective that is in movement, in action, that is achieving something together, united by this will, this desire I spoke about earlier. How can you make a collective want to do something together? And I believe there's a lot of that we can learn from activism, from movements. We can definitely import in our workplaces the dynamics, the patterns, and the tools of activism, community building, networks as technology, but also as operating principles. So yeah, there's a lot of things, but maybe the one thing I like the most is leadership is a collective capacity.
So it means that organization becoming a catalyst that creating the environment where it becoming the wheels for leaders to join to come in and building the new cultures and everything. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And in the book, at some point, I mention the Vietnamese pronouns. You know that there's so many pronouns, and they are all relational. Like right now, we're using the T and M, but I would use some other pronouns with other people, with my kids, and so it's all. I think the Vietnamese language has understood this relational nature of society, and it's very deep into it's in the DNA of this language. And for me, it was quite a shock when I arrived in Vietnam. I thought, how can I say I? It's so easy to say I in my language, and it seems to be so difficult in this culture. But then I understood it's extremely wise, actually, to think that way. It's very interesting, and I think we need to pay more attention to this relational dynamic of leadership. That's why the subtitle of my book is The Art of Relational Leadership in a Fragmented World.
Wow. I will change my mindset about the language that we have in my country, because I feel like that's too many things that we can address a person, like I, right? And then there's so many things that we can call, like I in Vietnam. But then in terms of, I'll go back to your book and it's relational leadership. I think that it's very important if I can sense, I can see, I can feel that my leaders actually really want to build a good relationship with me and really trying to help us, right? But then the concern for business leader is that they're having limited time to go into that deep level of relations. How can we help them though?
Yeah. I think, well, first, it's true, they have limited time. Second, if they don't invest the time in building relationships, then everything else will, how can I say, fail or not work as well as they want. So it's a mistake, it's a misleading approach to think you can save time on relationship building and then have performance. It doesn't work. Third, I think if you try to build, one-on-one relationships, yes, it's crazy from a time perspective. But if you try to create the conditions for a collective to develop relationships and you can do that through a lot of approaches, lots of different methodologies. For example, the use of internal social networking, the use of volunteering, in the workplace to solve whatever problems. So all these are ways by which you can connect more people in different ways so that people see each other and understand more of the various perspectives available in that group. And this is how you develop mutual understanding, mutual trust, social capital. So how do you build social capital in an organization? So you see, it's not really about me as a manager. I need to, really know everybody and build, personal relationship with everybody. But I need to create the conditions for people to work across differences and to work in a trusting manner. I come from corporate cultures marked by fear, by blame, and some managers are just contributing to that without even realizing. So I hope those who will read the book will take a step back and look at their own practice.
Celine, during this interview, I see a very big connected in your life and the product that the book that you write. So you be disconnected to your family for the reconnectedness, and then now you write the book about daring to unleash, so that we can become a better leaders, right? So
exactly.
I congratulate you for the very beautiful journey and the works that you bring to the world, and I think that I wish a lot of leaders will be able to get the book, read it, and try to apply, because the fragmented worlds that we're having right now, there's a lot of changing. The old way of doing things need to totally change. And I wish the book to be a success. Okay.
Thank you.
And then do us a favor. In 4 days, so it's coming to the April 5th again. All right. So celebrate the 5 years of champagne. Open another champagne with Leo and tell him that, hey, let's have our champagne to celebrate that 5 years anniversary. Do that for us,
That's
okay?
awesome. That's awesome. I would have forgotten if you'd not reminded that to me. That's a great idea. Yes, I will celebrate and think of you and raise a glass of champagne to you.
I note it here. I will remind you on LinkedIn on April the 5th. I say, Leo and Celine, please have your champagne. You guys are so wonderful. All right. So thank you
That's
so
awesome.
much for your time
Thank you.
spending with
It was
us.
lovely. Can I say a last few words?
Please, yes.
It's a little bit of a song I remember. Chai ting gong tu, chai ting tu, em yêu anh đến ngàn thu.
Em yêu chị.
We love you. I am you too.
Thank you so much, guys. It was lovely chatting with you. I envy you for being in Vietnam, which is such a fabulous country.
We thank you so much
And
for all
hope
the
I'll go
works.
again.
We thank you so much for all the
Cảm
works
ơn
that
chị.
Yeah.
Dạ.